So, welcome everyone. This is a forum on public banking, removing Wall Street with public banking. And this is Mike Krauss, the Public Banking Institute. He's been at this for, what, over 20 years, Mike? Uh-oh, the video just cut out, I think?
Yeah, very good.
I've got video, I've got sound. Your sound comes and goes a bit.
Okay, well, now you've been doing this for over 20 years, if I recall?
No, hardly. We began this effort in early 2012.
Okay, so I thought it would be a lot, I thought it was longer than that. Okay. Well, anyways, I mean, there's really not much to introduce you with other than using your bio that you were a Republican at the state party of Pennsylvania, a county commissioner, and now you're a senior, is it fellow or senior advisor of the PBI?
Advisor, yes.
Yep. So without further ado, everyone, Mike Krauss, and you're up, sir.
Well, first, thank you all for being here today. Let me start by describing what we mean by public banking. There are public banks all over the world, and they have about 40% of the banking market. The public bank in China and Japan are the biggest banks in those countries, respectively. But they're retail banks. They have deposits, checking accounts, offer all sorts of retail products. That's not what we're talking about. Our model is the Bank of North Dakota, which is 100 years old. It's not a retail bank. It's a partner bank. It partners with the local banks. Because it's not a retail bank, it has no branches, it has no tellers, it has no ATMs, it has no retail advertising, marketing. Because of that, all those saved costs fall right to the bottom line. Makes the bank very profitable. And those profits are returned to the state every year as non-tax revenue. In 1 year alone, in 2014, the bank returned $194 million to the state general fund as non-tax revenue, which is one reason why North Dakota balances its budgets year in and year out. The bank partnered with local banks. For example, you come to your bank and you've got a car dealership and you want $5 million for a new showroom. And the bank says, well, geez, we'd like to help, but our limit is 2.5. So you go away and you go to one of the big banks, not North Dakota. In North Dakota, your local bank goes to the public bank, says, we partner with this. And if they approve the deal, okay, then you've got your $5 million, and your local bank keeps the customer, doesn't lose it to one of the big out-of-town banks. On the other end, on the lower end, the bank partners with local banks for mortgages, business loans, small business loans, and drives down the interest rate so that more people can qualify under existing underwriting standards. There's no diminution of the risk factor here. So that's what public banks do. They do some other things. They loan directly to municipalities and school districts. For example, this year in North Dakota, the bank has put $250 million into local school districts for construction and renovation at less than 2%, which is a lot less expensive than going to the bond market for a 3, 4, 5, 6% bond issue. Again, tremendous savings to the local municipality, drives down the debt service costs, which is a big part of a lot of local budgets, sometimes 19, 20% of your tax money goes to pay debt to the bond issues. So the local bank puts money into the local economy. That is returned in principal and interest, and it goes right back into your local public bank. It's not exported to Wall Street. So the local bank strengthens the public bank, strengthens the local banking industry. It helps drive down debt service. It helps drive down taxes, and it recirculates your money in your community. That's what a public bank does. That's what we're talking about. So let's just start there. Those are some of the chief benefits of a public bank. When you establish a public bank, you've got some thresholds to cross. You've got to decide what the mission is. In North Dakota, it's very broad. Strengthen commerce and industry. That's what it is. But from year to year, the legislature modifies that mission with particular missions. For example, 2 years ago, the state legislature wanted the bank to lend into the medical technology industry, and that's what they've been doing. A year ago, the legislature said we want the bank to get involved with student loans. Now, they have been for a long time, lending to students in North Dakota. But what the legislature is saying is, we want you to do something about student debt. So the public bank offered to refinance all the student debt of any student in North Dakota or from North Dakota and other parts of the union at lower interest rates and lower terms, driving down the debt of students. Bank can do that. In North Dakota, the bank is involved in lending into senior care, into elderly housing, into small businesses, into support services, into major industries, agriculture, for example, ranching, of course. And I might add, in North Dakota, the fracking industry. North Dakota is a big fracking state. And the bank does lend into that industry to the suppliers, of course, because that's big in North Dakota. You might not want that in Illinois. We don't particularly want that in Pennsylvania, but that's the bank's mission. So the bank is, one, established mission. Two, you've got to decide on where your capital base is coming from and your deposits. What's your sustainable deposit base? In North Dakota, it's all the revenues of the state. All the taxes collected in North Dakota, all the fines, fees, permits, you name it, go into the local bank, the public bank. That's its deposit base. And on that deposit base and capital base, you can calculate how much lending you can do into the community. So number one, mission. Number two, capital base and deposit base. Number three, this is the big one, governance. You want a bank that is responsive to and accountable to public authority. But if I were to say to the good people of Pennsylvania, for example, we're going to give your state legislature a bank, they would say, are you crazy? Are you kidding me? If I said to Philadelphia, we want to give city council a bank, you get the same response, for a good reason. So while you want the bank to be accountable to political authority, which is the voters, you don't want the bank managed in any way by that same political authority. So that's what you've got to set up. A management that is independent of political authority, a bank run by bankers like a bank, but accountable. Those are big hurdles to cross. Those are the main challenges. Mission, capital base, deposit base, accountability, governance we'll call that, and then management. You want a bank that is managed by bankers like a bank would be. And in Pennsylvania, we have on our directors board a number of bankers. In Santa Fe, where they've had a feasibility study done, where they're moving to a task force, there are bankers on that task force to make sure that as they go forward, this bank is established like a bank and run by like a bank. Those are the critical things. So what you've got is an institution that makes a big difference in municipal finance. In your county, in the county where I live in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, in Santa Fe, pick a state, pick a city, the tools you have to manage your local budget are always the same. You can raise taxes. You can take on more debt. You can cut services. You can lay off. You can ask for employee givebacks. All these things take money out of the economy. The public bank puts money back into the economy. It's a net plus. So these are briefly what a public bank is all about as we propose. So, guys, let me get
Oh boy.
stop here. Let's hear you.
The video just froze, Mike. All right,
I've got you loud and clear.
Oh, all right, go ahead and start where you just left off about 10 seconds ago.
Well, I'm not sure where I was 10 seconds ago. What I said was that you've got all public banking advocates, all efforts at the state and local level confront the same issues: the mission, capital base, deposit base, governance, management. Those are the key issues that you've got to address, and they're being addressed. For example, Santa Fe, which is far smaller in population than Winnebago County is, put up a feasibility study, came back positive. Yes, we can do this. Yes, it has benefits, immediate benefits, by the way. One of which is the bank can immediately refinance municipal debt at lower debt service costs. That's the first thing you can do, with a net savings of perhaps $1.5 million a year in a small city like Santa Fe, which population is, I think, about 100,000, I think, about less than half that of Winnebago County. In other cities and places, of course, it can be much bigger. Philadelphia is a city of 1.4 million. Illinois, by the way, is North Dakota has a population of about 720,000. It's returning million tens, 20s, 2 years ago, $94 million in non-tax revenue to the general fund. Now has a loan portfolio approaching $7 billion in commercial loans and in real estate loans. Something else a public bank can do, which is emergency relief. In 1997, there was what's called the Grand Forks Fire and Flood, a huge flood on the Red River. Flooded Grand Forks, Minnesota, and Grand Forks, North Dakota, either sides of the river. In North Dakota, the bank came in with over $1 million of aid even before FEMA was on the ground. And then it underwrote a 6-month suspension of mortgage payments in that city, with the result that Grand Forks, North Dakota, lost about 3% of its population in that tragedy. The other side of the river, Grand Forks, Minnesota, lost 17% of its population. So a public bank has all other applications. Emergency relief is one of them. So, a bank can invest in small business loans, in students, in mortgages, in infrastructure, and all that money comes from your local bank, and the net proceeds of that lending, principal and interest, come back to your local bank. It is not exported out of your city, or out of your county, or out of your state. So with that, are there questions? I'm sure there are.
All right. All right, Mike, I got the microphone here, so I don't think it's, well, let's see. We're going to bring the microphone. I'm going to have to step away from the video.
That's fine.
Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, it'll reach. Go ahead. Introduce yourself as
Yes, my name is Richard Bunch, and the question I have is related to whether the revenue that the public banks get from all these loans to the various people that you and organizations that you mentioned, whether whether that is taxed and it returns revenue to the community or the state.
The question is, are the revenues of the bank taxed?
Yeah.
That would depend on your local jurisdiction and your local laws.
Okay.
In North Dakota, they are not.
Okay.
The bank is a public institution, so it is exempt from local taxes.
I see. Okay. Are there any advantages to having them taxed? I mean, in terms of trying to get it into a community.
Well, you kind of counted up. Why would you tax the bank? Because you then just put the revenue right back in the bank. So the bank's making money that's coming as non-tax revenue. Why would you take that out in taxes only to put it back in again in taxes? It's kind of like 2 steps to get to the same end. You're capturing the revenue in your bank. So taxing it would seem kind of counterintuitive.
I see. Okay. The other question I had is, so what are the advantages to the students?
Lending, no. So they're limited in what they can lend into. They don't have the wherewithal to make infrastructure loans in the millions of dollars to your schools, for example, or to your local authorities in charge of your water systems, for example, or your utilities, for example. So a public bank has a far larger deposit base, and therefore its scope of operations is far wider and has a much bigger impact in the community. And also, again, proceeds come back to local government. That's not true of credit unions. But again, the public bank can loan with credit unions. It does. In North Dakota, the bank partners with credit unions on mortgages to make those mortgages more affordable. So the bank works with both, the public bank works with both your local community banks and your local credit unions. And by the way, in Pennsylvania, there are at least 600 credit unions. It has, I think, the most in the state. All the old industries started in Pennsylvania: railroad, steel, coal, trade unions, even before the Western migration. So the antecedents of the modern credit unions, many are in Pennsylvania.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kathy Herdeman, and I was just wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about the public bank that you're working with. And is that in Pittsburgh, did you say, or Philadelphia, or what is the?
Could you say that a little, Kathy? I didn't quite hear that. Your voice is kind of soft. Can you make that just a bit louder?
I'm just wondering about the group that you're associated with there. Is that in Pittsburgh, did you say?
If I heard you right, you're asking what banks we're working with. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Most of them are the community banks, obviously. Community banks and credit unions are one of the biggest beneficiaries. In North Dakota, for example, because the partnership of the state public bank they're growing their business. They don't lose customers. Let me put it this way. We've met with bankers all across North Dakota. Here's what they say. One, the State Banking Authority Chairman, CEO says, the B&D, Bank of North Dakota, is a great partner. Another banker, medium-sized bank, says, with the B&D as a partner, we can go toe-to-toe with the big boys, quote unquote. They don't lose the big deals. They're taking $60, $70, $80 million deals when they used to go, they were excluded from the market. They didn't have the credit limits. Another banker says, and this is important, when the crash hit, the B&D, Bank of North Dakota, never blinked, the credit kept flowing. So the public bank is in a way isolated from trends in the banking industry. When the big banks pull back from market, they don't. They don't have to. They're not engaged in outrageous returns for dividends and mega salaries to their officers. The B&D is a $7 million bank, and its CEO makes $250,000 a year. That's astounding. Not $5 million, not $10 million, not $20 million, not stock options, all that kind of stuff. They don't exist. That's another feature, by the way. The public bank offers no incentive for risky loan taking. You get no commissions, you get no bonuses, none of that stuff. So they're not involved in risky business.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
Did it answer your question?
So there's a group of public banks.
A group of public banks in Pennsylvania. Are there individual groups of public banks in Pennsylvania is what she's asking now?
Groups of community banks, or there are smaller banks?
The public bank partners with the local banking industry. It partners with the community banks, it partners with the credit unions. It does not partner with Wells Fargo or JP Morgan Chase or Citibank. It partners with your local banking community. And so we've reached out to community bankers. There are 2 associations in Pennsylvania. We reached out to credit unions, and they're coming around. We have 2 bankers on our directors board. One started the first minority-owned bank in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, United Bank, a community banker who understands banking. The other banker started out in these smaller banks and then retired from a very large bank, but understands the utility of a public bank for the local, I say, banking industry. The public bank helps local banks take market share back from the big banks on Wall Street, which I think is something you want. If you go to your community bank for a loan, that decision is made locally. If you go to Wells Fargo, you've got an information taker at your local office. The decision is made 1,000 miles away by someone who doesn't know your community, doesn't know you, and really doesn't have any stake in growing your community.
All right. Well, I just have a real quick question, David, Soll here. Is there a minimum population for, say, like a city, like the town I live in, Loves Park here, has approximately 24,000 people. If they were to do a public bank like this, would that work?
There is a threshold, but it's not established. And generally speaking, you can start a public bank anywhere, but its activity, the range of activities, what it can do, will be limited by the capital base and by the deposit base. So as a practical matter, there's a certain, I think a certain, I'm not sure where that is, although Santa Fe, population 100, maybe it's less than 100,000, I've forgotten now. They do a feasibility study. They see the benefits are substantial, especially in debt service costs or reduction in debt service costs, and the positive load in the community. So they're now past the feasibility study and onto the task force to actually set the bank up and get a banking charter from the state, which is the next threshold to cross. So they think they've got to go. So I would think that at a county level, Winnebago County could do this. I'm not sure that your local community would have quite the threshold of capital deposits to make it worthwhile.
No, probably not.
At some point in time, your overhead would overcome what the bank can do in benefits.
Yeah,
So there is a threshold, but I'm not sure where it is just yet. We haven't reached that point yet.
Yeah, because I believe our county is what, about 320,000 or so?
I think it's
thereabouts.
Something like that, and that's more than enough.
Okay.
That's more than enough.
All right. Any other questions from the audience? Are there any online? if you want to check real quick, Mike. We're going to see if there's anyone that left a comment on the Facebook Live feed.
Okay.
So if anyone's listening on Facebook Live, here's your chance. Start posting questions if you're interested. If you hopefully no, darn. Anyone else might have any questions? Can you think of any?
I was going to ask about the Winnebago County. So you're talking about that this would be organized by, you know, the politicians of Winnebago County?
Well, here, let me bring her to the microphone.
Organized.
I'm going to let her ask that question. I'm using the microphone here.
Oh, I think I heard the question. Let me ask the question. Winnebago County has a county commissioner form of government. Who are the elected authority in Winnebago County?
Oh, you're talking about our county board?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a county board and a chairman. There are, 20 members of the board and one chairman.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you elect your county council members by district.
Yes, yeah, it's not at will, no.
Okay, and I assume then that you have a business manager or a finance manager who reports to the county authority, is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, then the people you want to talk to, obviously, are the chairman of that county commission, its individual members, and the administrator who's appointed by them, and the finance director and the treasurer, to begin to educate them on the opportunity, discover how much money there is out there, you know, what's the annual intake in revenue, taxes, fees, licenses, all that kind of stuff. What money the county has in investments, it's probably substantial, and where that money is, how much of it there is, and what the sources of capital and deposit base might be. Inevitably, there'll be resistance. People don't
No doubt.
generally like to change what they're doing, especially those in appointed political authority. They know what they're doing. They think they're doing a good job. Perhaps they are. But they're certainly not aware of what public banking is all about. And, you know, they say, well, that can't work, and no, we can't do this, we can't do that. And that's difficult. So what you have to do is get around them and get under them and begin to educate. And, you know, for example, talk to your local school boards. Ask them how much they're borrowing and what it costs. I'll bet it's not less than 2%.
That's
Identify
true.
needs in the community. You know, what money is coming into your small businesses, for example. My guess is, like a lot of counties, you have authorities of some kind or another, a small business authority, a housing authority, an industrial development authority. They do some recirculating of revenue into the community, but there are a lot of attendant costs to that. There are lawyers and bond counsel and all those folks involved in that process. That's a costly process. And at the end of the day, often the decisions are rival inherently political. You've got politicians and their appointed boards who respond to the politicians deciding where the money goes. Whereas a public bank works through your local banking industry. It drags a wider net. It identifies different communities of need, small businesses, students, home buyers, what have you. So the banking industry acts as your point of intake, and you get a wider representation of the needs of the community than you typically get through the political lending of authorities and boards and agencies. And I was an officer of county government. I know how this game is played, and what political lending looks like. This is not political lending. It is a banking-based lending.
All right. Any other do you have a question? Okay.
I don't have any comments.
Oh,
Yeah, how many public banks are there in the United States, and what kind of it's like the process. I'm concerned about the political process of trying to get it done in a community, because you just touched on that. Do you have any like guidelines or whatever on how to go about convincing public officials to do this? From the history.
At the moment, there's only one public bank in the United States, the Bank of North Dakota. It's almost 100 years old.
All right.
It was formed just after the Federal Reserve was formed, because the folks in North Dakota knew what that meant. It meant the big banks in Minneapolis would eat their lunch. It would control grain pricing, railroad pricing, lending pricing, cost of money. So they broke away. and formed their own bank back in I think it was 1919, 6 years after the Fed was formed. There had been public banks in the United States. For example, in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, the Quakers had a public bank. It loaned money into the community. The interest came back, took place in taxes. These public banks lasted until the big banks drove them out of business in the 1800s, basically, and then took their place with the consolidation of banking in the hands of big banks in New York and St. Louis, and Chicago, Kansas City, elsewhere. So at the moment, there are efforts to create public banks at the municipal level and state level in several dozen places. The most advanced seem to be in Philadelphia at the local level, in Los Angeles at the local level, in Seattle at the local level, although Boston, Minneapolis, a few other places are coming along. Santa Fe is the most advanced. They're past the study phase into the task force phase. They're going ahead full steam. There are statewide efforts again in California, again in Washington State, in Vermont, in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, where the leading candidate for government there is a very strong advocate of public banks. So we are working with state lawmakers and local elected officials, city councils, what have you, in maybe 3 dozen places. And they're coming to fruition. The next 12 months will be exciting. And within the next 12 months, there will be several more public banks in the United States. And then I think it's off to the races. There's nothing not to like here.
All right. What is the kind of the turnaround, bang to buck, from the beginning to end to actually, I mean, how long is this process going to take? I mean, how long has like Boston been at this to get this to the point where they're at?
It has taken 2 years in Santa Fe because of the highly organized team there that did the public education process, explaining to people, stakeholders, local bankers, small businesses, what this bank was all about, and local elected officials, of course. In Pennsylvania, it's a big state. We have hundreds of state lawmakers. It's taken a while to get them coming around, but now they are. We finally got motion at the state level with support from the governor's office and some key lawmakers. In September, or rather October, we'll have a meeting of those stakeholders, bring together key lawmakers, department people like banking and like the Treasury and others, beneficiaries, small banks, what have you. And in Philadelphia, it has taken 4 years of patient effort to educate. It's a big city, and you've got to educate a lot of people to move this forward. I would think in Winnebago County, that's not so tough a job. You've got your county council, they need to be educated. But you've got to get to the stakeholders, the people who will benefit, small businesses, home borrowers, students, school boards. I'll say that again. In North Dakota, the bank is lending to school boards for construction and renovation at less than 2%. That's not what their bond issues are costing. It's costing a lot more. They'll see obvious benefit. If the mission of the bank is, for example, infrastructure, water systems, for example, community needs, parks, recreation, for example, and then the local elected officials in your boroughs or townships, I think that's what you have in Illinois, will find this of interest. So you've got to identify who can benefit and educate them, and you've got to identify who has the authority and educate them. So there's first an education process of just explaining what you're talking about. Then you identify the decision makers more exactly and the shareholders more exactly, and you start to build pressure under the elected decision makers.
All right. Are there any other specific questions or anything that maybe hasn't been covered yet?
Let me say there are 2 websites. www.publicbankinginstitute.org and www.papublicbanking.org. And they have on those websites a lot of information. There's a good publication of benefits of public banks to municipalities and cities. That answers a lot of questions. So Public Banking PA and Public Banking Institute, all.org, have on their websites a lot of resources. including a next publication of that and the group in Philadelphia who got together and did the research. And that's a good document, very factual, and answers questions and provides information.
All right. Well, there was a quick question that, well, it wasn't pertaining to public banking, but someone left a comment and asked what exactly this forum that is on Facebook Live is all about. I'll just go ahead and say it's public banking. So to the people or to the person who asked that question, Jose, if you're still watching, go ahead and post a question that if you can think of anything on public banking, here's your opportunity to do it right now. Is there any other, but for now in the audience? Yes.
How is public banking beneficial to the consumer, the average consumer?
How is public banking beneficial to the average consumer? That's from a lady named Betty.
Let's call that the average consumer. Let's call it the average taxpayer.
Fair enough.
The bank doesn't offer credit cards. It doesn't offer CDs. It's not a retail bank. It's not in the consumer banking business. It's in the business of supporting your local bank and they're lending into the community. And it provides tax relief, non-tax revenue, and lower debt service. So the bank isn't focused on consumer lending. It doesn't compete with your local banks. It can make your local bank's lending less expensive by driving down interest rates. And it can take your pressure off taxes by providing non-tax revenue. And it can invest in the community for its needs. So it invests in community. It drives down the cost of borrowing for small businesses and students, for example, or home buyers. So those are consumer benefits. But again, this is not a retail bank. It's not going to offer credit cards and CDs and all that kind of stuff.
All right. Real quick, I wanted to ask. Now, I work for a school district, and the high school, the local high school for the district, desperately needs a new parking lot. They need to redesign it completely. If they were to do that, typically in order to pay for that, they probably go with selling bonds is probably my best guess.
Or higher taxes.
Or higher taxes.
Again, those are the tools local government has. More debt, higher taxes, layoff, employee givebacks. Those are the tools governments have to balance their local budgets. If you go to the B&D's website, you can look at their school lending program. They're refurbishing science facilities, roofs, parking lots, gymnasiums, classrooms. That's money going into local school districts from the bank at less than 2%, a lot less expensive than your typical bond issue. And again, all the money comes back to the bank. It stays in your community. It's not exported to the external bond market.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how the public bank can benefit the banking, your local school districts.
Yeah, because there was an issue here in Rockford with bonds back in the 80s, I think, where that was under home rule, and there was a big issue where it became overly expensive, and I don't remember all the details, but it just didn't work out real well, and then they ended up stripping, I believe, home rule as a result. So a public bank if there had been a public bank of Winnebago County, that could have all been avoided, presumably.
A public bank, as in North Dakota, can loan directly to school districts for its construction and refurbishment expansion needs. And again, if you go to the B&D website, they loan to a couple dozen school districts, and they're refurbishing classrooms, they're putting new roofs on, they're fixing parking lots, they're adding science facilities, they're adding IT facilities, and all that money's coming with the public bank at less than 2%.
Yep.
It's a big savings.
And just so everyone knows, the B&D that he's talking about is the Bank of North Dakota. That's what he's meaning there.
So when
And on their website, you can find an annual report and look at the range of things that they loan into and how they distribute that money into the community.
All right. And it looks like we have another question.
So in organizing a public bank, is it a capital ventures thing or just people who want to invest? How is it organized?
She has the capital.
Venture capital.
Oh, venture capitalists, would they be involved in this?
And how is the bank venture capitalist money, or people just coming?
Where do they get the money then? Now-
Yeah, okay, I guess the question is, where does the initial money, where would the initial money come from? Through venture
Well, as I
capitalists
said,
or?
you've got your reserve base and your deposit base. The deposit base comes from your local government. In North Dakota, all the money taken in by the state of North Dakota, taxes, fees, licenses, you name it, goes into the bank. That's where the deposits go, and that forms a deposit base. And the other is the capital base. You've got to decide where that might be. Inevitably, your county has investments. And if you look at the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, CAFR, that will tell you where your county has its money squirreled away. It may be in commissions, authorities rolling over from year to year. It may be investments. When we looked at investments in Philadelphia, we found $6 billion of investments scattered around 100 different investment managers all over the world, not in Philadelphia. So they're investing their money out of Philadelphia, not in Philadelphia, even abroad, not in Philadelphia. So your county inevitably has investments, and they can be placed in the public bank as a long-term equity investment. In other words, you're just shifting your investment portfolio from where it is to into your public bank. From the point of view of your county's investments, a public bank is another kind of investment. Instead of a Scandinavian hedge fund or some Wall Street hedge fund, your money is invested as a long-term equity position in your public bank. And the public bank returns are the return on that investment.
So basically, the strength of the public bank here would all hinge on the strength of our local economy, as opposed to whatever goes on Wall Street.
Well, yes, you'd be separate from Wall Street because your money wouldn't be invested there.
All right. Okay. Well, let me ask you this question. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that a solar panel manufacturing company wanted to come into Winnebago County. Where would a public bank fit in that scenario? If say one existed and then that manufacturing plant wanted to come here, how would that work?
I'll give an example. There's a company called the Philadelphia Macaroni Company. They've got plants in Philadelphia and Seattle. They make all kinds of pasta products. They get their flour milled from North Dakota. The bank there did 5 different deals with that company to create their milling facilities so they could take the milled flour from North Dakota to Philadelphia and to Seattle. That's what it can do, if it's a viable idea. So if you've got a solar provider who wants to come into Winnebago County, they're going to get their money somewhere, and they might get it from Wall Street. Typically, they probably will. They might get some money from your local industrial development authority. Typically, they might. But then there's the bank, which is another source of less expensive capital, which is an inducement to do the deal. You know, when you're starting a company, you have some of your own investment, of course, but typically it's a finance deal. You go borrow the money, and the cheaper that money can be, the better your business looks. So the public bank, because it's a low-cost business model, doesn't need to drive the same returns as the private banks do. Again, no shareholders to pay every year, no reduced salaries, very little overhead compared to a private bank. So we can afford to lend at lower terms, lower rates. So the bank could be a partner. Now, maybe you've got an industrial development authority. You probably do. Or some kind of economic development authority. The bank would be for them another source of funds to help them do their deals, but a low-cost source of funds to help them do their deals.
All right. Unless there's other questions, I mean, we could probably go ahead and start considering cutting this short now, and that's fine. But I guess my last remark would be for at this point, if this is going to go to the next level and we can get this done, I'm assuming that we here in the audience and even others that are listening Facebook Live, if they're happen to be local or even in their own area, they can certainly contact you through the PBI website, which I will post.
You can contact me directly at www.mike@publicbankinginstitute.org.
There you go. So now that that's on the video, because I'm going to probably post this on YouTube and hopefully, get the message out there. So I take it the next step would be for us maybe to start going and educating our county board members would be
I
probably
think
the best.
I think that is the next step. I think you want to put together a team, 2 or 3. Once you've got yourselves educated, once you've got the materials you need, like this publication benefits of a public bank to cities and towns. Once you're sure what you want to say, then you need to go and take that message to your local government. And one way might be to go to a public meeting and ask for a meeting in public. In other words, go out before your next meeting, your county board, and say, we'd like to talk to you about this. When can that be done? And put them on public notice.
So maybe
Don't
during
make
it.
this,
Oh,
don't do this. And typically with new ideas, those folks with new ideas are encouraged to do these things, out of public sight. Well, come talk to me privately, we'll talk about this. Don't do that. Don't get shunned aside and do private discussions that go nowhere. Put it on the record.
So maybe
You're
show up
ready.
at the county board meetings itself.
When you're ready, go to a public meeting of your county commissioners or whatever they're called and say, we represent a group that wants to start a public bank in Winnebago County. When can we talk to you about this? Give them public notice and
Awesome.
make it public.
That sounds like an easy plan to at least get things going.
Yeah, where we go with this, the instinct of local officials is to keep things out of sight, quiet, so they know what's going on. And that's just how they are. And you don't want to do that. You want your discussion to be public at all times.
That's true. All right, looks like we may have another question from the audience.
Ask him approximately how much money it costs to start a public bank.
Give or take, what is the approximate cost just to initially get this kind of a thing started?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by the initial cost.
Well-
Typically, once you get some traction, then people are going to want to know, is this feasible? And you go to a feasibility study. In Santa Fe, that study cost $50,000. And they determined that was well worth the money. And they discovered in the first year alone, savings in the county of $1.5 billion in their debt service costs. So obviously that 50 grand was quickly paid for by the bank, or will be quickly paid for. So there's little cost to going to a county commissioners meeting, just the cost of getting there. And there's little cost of talking to elected officials, just a matter of talking to them. Now, you may want to organize some public forums. You might want to bring some experts in, and maybe you want to pay their airfare and give them a place to stay at night, and help you make your presentations. That might cost you, I don't know, $700. You might want to do that. But sooner or later, you're going to come up against, okay, is this feasible? Yeah, we like the idea, but we don't think it can work. And then someone's got to do a real study, independent, and actually look at the numbers and see if it can work in Winnebago County and how it can work. I would think with a population of close to 300,000, this can work. You've reached the threshold of sufficient capital and deposit base to have a viable public banking enterprise.
All right, looks like we have another question from the audience.
I'm just wondering about hiring people to run the bank. You need bankers, and you said, so where do you find people with this skill set?
Oh, if you want to go that route, there are now, there's a group within the public banking community that have made themselves available. I think they're calling themselves public banking associates. I'm told I'm one of them. I didn't know that, but there I am. We've been doing this now across the country since 2012. So we've discovered knowledgeable people all across the country who know this stuff. They know banking, municipal finance, and above all, they know public banking. Because we've been working with local officials, literally coast to coast, in state legislatures, county committees, county councils, city councils, mayors, governors, treasurers, finance directors. I can't count how many folks like that I've talked to in the past 5 years. I've been all across the country. In small cities, big cities, state legislatures, you name it, I've been there. So we know public banking. And now in these public banking associates, I think they're calling themselves, we put together a talent pool of people who know this. For example, about 3 weeks ago, 3 of us sat down in Seattle with lawmakers, senators, state reps, finance chairmen, budget directors, local bankers, and made the case And the state legislature is setting aside $75,000 to do the study for the state of Washington.
Awesome.
Another group's working in the city of Seattle. They're coming along kind of in tandem. So there's ample talent out there. If you want someone to help you make the presentation to your county officials, once you've got them interested, we can find the people.
All right. Anything else from anyone? Was there anything online? No, not yet. All right. Well, I guess unless there's anything else, final comments or any last thoughts, I guess.
Well, I want to make a comment and thank you folks for taking interest. If you pursue this, you'll become what's called the tip of the spear. You'll be the folks that first come in and begin to make the case and drive your local elected officials to thinking about this idea. It's always a matter of taking the first step. Somebody has to do it. Dave, you understand this, someone's got to drive the bus.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what it comes down to. A handful of people who educate themselves, widen that circle bit by bit, bring more people in. Then when you've got a fair representation of your community, then you get organized, and then you'll sit down with your local elected officials. You go to the public with it, say, we want to talk about this. When and where can we do this? Put it on the public record.
All right. Well, Mike, I think what we'll do is the few of us that are here, we'll get kind of put our heads together, see if we can maybe come up with an idea and how to approach our county board. I mean, I've certainly done that with them on other issues, and of course I ran for our county board, so that kind of helps me out in talking to them, and maybe we'll be doing this again another time real soon.
Next time I hope I'm face-to-face with folks in the same room. I look forward to it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you. And thank you for your time. And I guess we'll go ahead and call it a day.
Again, thank you for your interest. Again, those three websites, Public Banking PA and Public Banking Institute, there are tons of resources out there, publications that describe exactly what we're talking about and what the benefits can be for your community, Winnebago County.
All righty.
Thanks.
Thank you.